Hi, everyone. Welcome to our May 25th Spring into Chapter Leadership Training. My name is Barb Cardell. I am the Program Director with PWN USA. I use they, them pronouns. We are really grateful that you are joining us today to talk about building chapter leadership, making sure that our chapters are as effective, as strong, and as inclusive as possible. PWN is coming to this work as the only national organization that is led by and for women and people of trans experience who are living with HIV. We have been around since 2008, and we are incredibly grateful to our 28 diverse women living with HIV who are our founders. These include women of trans experience and a vast group of people from across the United States with all a variety of ages and lived experiences. Today, PWN is 3,000 members strong across the nation. We specifically have chapters in a number of states, including Colorado, Louisiana, New York, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, and Texas. And we have state leads in 12 other states. We like to start off all of our trainings and our conversations to remind us of our mission and how we come to this work. Our mission at PWN is to prepare and involve all women living with HIV in all of our diversities in all level of policy and decision making. So today, this is the second part of our Spring into Leadership training, and we're going to be working on building an effective PWN chapter. Springing into Leadership is a series that we have developed. It's 3 parts that takes everyone from the very beginning about chapter leadership and chapter training around our structure for PWN and brings you all the way through to being able to have a strong and sustainable chapter. These are going to be 3 monthly calls. This is our second, and it is going to be a series that builds on each other. We will have these recordings that you will be able to access and go back, maybe even play small parts of it on your chapter meetings if there's a particular piece that you want to go ahead and elevate and lift up. These are open to all of our PWN chapter members and to our leadership. And we will be talking about what is a chapter, why it's important. And today we're going to be talking specifically about community organizing. With that, I will go ahead and pass it over to Crystal.
Thank you so much, Barb. Hi, everybody. My name is Crystal Townsend. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the organizing manager for Positive Women's Network USA. Our goals for our time together here is to make sure that all of our chapter members, no matter where you are in leadership, in the chapter, we want to make sure you understand the chapter's work and our commitment to building power, leadership, and the chapter's membership. We also want to bring PWN members together to build community because there's so much that you all know and so much experience there is amongst our membership. We want to strengthen connections and we want to learn together. And today, specifically, we're talking about organizing. Like, what is community organizing? What is the chapter's work? What are the roles and responsibilities within a chapter? We'll talk about some of the leadership roles and decision-making processes. And we'll also talk about how to hold effective meetings, including like how to best develop agendas for your meeting. So let's jump right into it. Let's talk about what is the chapter's work. Next slide, please. All right, so here are some great pictures and a good recap of what we talked about in part 1. Just to recap, the work of the chapter is to organize. We love and care about each other. At the same time, the chapter meetings are time for us to discuss important issues and how to organize around them. This is a supportive environment. But like we said in part 1, there are other spaces and places that are more better equipped to handle like a support group setting. So the chapter meetings are times to talk about the work of the chapter, what needs to be done to move our communities forward. We advocate, we organize community on important issues, and we envision what is possible to change the conditions of our communities. So that is the work of the chapter. Next slide, please. I'll turn it over to Sam.
Thank you, Crystal. Hey, y'all, my name's Sam Piper, she, her pronouns. I help manage our integrated voter engagement work here at PWN, and we'll get into that more in just a bit. But for now, I'm gonna piggyback off of Crystal and get into what community organizing is. Community organizing is the cornerstone of all of our work here. So many of you watching this right now are organizers and have been incredible organizers for a really long time. And organizing is the process of building power collectively or involving a constituency in identifying the problems they share and the solutions to those problems that we desire. And we are the solution to those problems. We will organize to get to the solution. And we identify the people and structures that can take those solutions, that can make those solutions possible. And we enlist those targets in the effort through negotiation and using confrontation and pressure when we need it. We know who to pressure, we find those targets, and we get what we want through organizing. And building an institution that is democratically controlled by that constituency, so us, that can develop the capacity to take on further problems, and that embodies the will and power of that constituency. And it's really, really important to remember, it's impossible to organize individually. That's not the model, right? Organizing is about the collective. We work with individuals who are a part of a collective or a constituency and come together and create targets and a plan to get what our communities deserve. Next slide. All right, pass it back to Crystal.
Actually, I can take this slide. Yes, thank you, Sam. And thank you for giving that overview of like what our chapters and community organizers do. And just more on chapter work. So the work for the chapter includes, and this is not limited to, developing leadership skills, holding chapter meetings, one-on-ones, and follow up with new and interested members, and advocating on issues impacting its members and or community. And we ask for you to drop it in the chat, like what are some other things that you think should be included in some of the chapter work that is not mentioned here. Next slide.
A big part of our chapter work is our integrated voter engagement work. So not all chapters, but many of our chapters in specific regions focus their chapter work around an integrated voter engagement model. And it is a strategy to connect with the community on important issues that build power and grow our supporters. For many of our chapters that do integrated voter engagement work, much of our base is built during the time that we are engaging with our community through our IVE work. And during times when we are launching an IVE campaign, that is the specific work of the chapter, but also any other work still continues during IVE campaigns. And an example of what an integrated voter engagement campaign can look like, here are some tactics. We hold elected officials accountable, we register voters, we never stop doing that. We get out the vote, we protect the vote, we develop strong leaders, and we persuade the public. And this doesn't just happen during campaign season, y'all. We do IVE work around the calendar year. There's a lot of campaigns that just specifically focus on electoral seasons. That's not how we practice integrated voter engagement work here at PWN. Our IVE work is deeply embedded throughout our community, our chapter work throughout the year, with the specific chapters that practice IVE work. And you'll notice through those chapters, there's IVE leaders, there's folks who will take charge on our campaign work, like knocking doors and making phone calls and talking to legislators, and recruiting and supporting our community members who would like to do that beside us. Next slide.
Awesome. Thank you, Sam. And I realized I didn't introduce myself. So, hey, everyone, my name is Antoinette. I'm the National Field Organizer at PWN, and I work with many of our chapters in the South and one in New York. So some of what you see here as far as the chapter's responsibility, I hold some of the weight for to make sure that the chapter is fulfilling their responsibilities and ensuring that they have their needs met and feel very supported. So some of the responsibilities you see is ensuring chapter members are represented in any major PWN USA activities. So we have things like National Membership Call. We have other trainings that we like to encourage our chapter members to attend, such as the Spring into Leadership and many other trainings where we may have other people come on and facilitate. Complete activity reports to determine a budget for a chapter and build new leaders. If you have done any outreach activities, then you have probably completed an activity report. We love seeing the pictures from you all's activities and anything that you are doing on the ground. So continue to send those. Maintain timely communication with PWN USA staff and or board, including responding to emails, phone calls, text messages, and mail. We would love to hear some of your preferred methods of communication so that we can best meet your needs. So please drop that in the chat. Provide documentation of meetings and activity reports, campaign plans, donations, press releases, and respond to evaluation reports. Evaluations help us know how to improve. So it's important that you continue to fill out any evaluations that we send your way. And of course, continue to document anything that you all are doing with those activity reports. Ensure that PWN USA staff is kept aware of all planned activities so that we can know how to best support you so that you're not out trying to facilitate outreach events without any support. And then also for safety reasons, it's important that we are aware and in the loop as far as what you are doing in your local towns or states. And then lastly, align chosen campaigns or events with PWN's national advocacy agenda to reflect the mission, vision, and organizational plan of PWN's USA work. Many of you all are very familiar with the policy, with our advocacy priorities and some of our policy priorities. And we ask that you all continue to implement that when you are developing your plans and strategic goals that you want to achieve this year. Next slide.
At the very basic level, chapters can have a leadership or an officer structure that looks like 2 co-chairs, a secretary, and an outreach coordinator. Not every chapter uses this model. Some chapters use more than this or different things. Some have, I've seen chapters have their Latinx outreach coordinator. I've seen chapters have outreach coordinator for a particular location. I've seen chapters have like your policy coordinator or your trans liaison or trans outreach coordinator. It looks different for every chapter. So at the very basic structure, you can have 2 co-chairs, a secretary, and outreach coordinator. I've even seen chapters have this basic structure and also use a decentralized power or leadership model where everybody can facilitate. You might have a title, but everybody or anybody within the chapter meeting can facilitate and lead. So I've seen it done differently, but at the very basis, here are some chapter roles that we wanted to share. Next slide. All right, so chapter roles. This is more about chapter roles. At the very least, we want to make sure like the division of labor is spread equitably. So we don't want, well, let me tell you what we do want. We do want more people within the chapter taking on some of the chapter work. It's not helpful for one person to be doing everything. I think y'all know it's not helpful. It will burn people out. So find something for people to do. Y'all are badass people, and y'all are raising families, doing so much outside of the chapter. Those skills can be brought into the chapter work, and the division of labor can be set up in such a way that it's doable for everybody. So before you meet, it is recommended that the officers at least touch base, have a standing meeting every month to plan what's going to happen at the chapter meetings, be clear about that, set the agenda, and share it with the chapter for input. And something we do in some of the chapters I've seen done is before they'll send out the agenda beforehand, and also before they even start the chapter meeting, they will ask, hey, let's do an agenda check. Does anybody have anything else that they want to add to the agenda? Let's review it. Let's add it now and figure out how much time we need to talk about it. All right, next slide. Okay, so here's more on officer roles, the co-chair. Y'all will get these slides, but we wanted to give y'all an idea of like, what does a co-chair do? In a co-chair position, they are the go-to people that I know I talk to when I'm trying to get in touch with chapter members. They're responsible for deepening their understanding of PWN's values. They support and mentor other members. They are not gatekeepers. They are people within the chapter who you can think of them as ushers. You know, ushers at church, they welcome you in and guide you. Like, where are you trying to go? Okay, let me help you get there. So that is a role of a co-chair. I'll let y'all read this. But also a couple of things. Co-chairs, it is helpful to stay up to date on like emails and things like that and communication. Some people like phone calls better, some people like text, but the co-chair has a responsibility to be that go-to person. Next slide. I don't know what's going on with the slides. Okay, got it. All right, so secretary. The secretary is the person who takes notes for the meetings. They ensure that the meeting agenda and notes and chapter related documents are filed in the right place in the shared Google Drive. The chapter is Google Drive, and they maintain updated membership contact lists. For some chapters, the secretary also is responsible for sending out calendar reminders for the meetings. But this is just at the very least. This is what the secretary does. Next slide. And the outreach coordinator. Outreach coordinator, they are the person that brings people in, they follow up with people, they put out flyers in the community, they make sure that the chapter has a presence at community events, and also sometimes I've seen an outreach coordinator plan community events and recruit people. But that is the role of the outreach coordinator. Next slide. All right, and all chapter members, especially the officers, need to keep this in mind. The purpose of this is to grow the chapter. The chapter can live for, who is the oldest chapter on this call? PWNPA. Y'all will be what, 12 this year?
Pennsylvania is our PW in Pennsylvania is the first one.
Yep.
It's been
14 years this year?
Yep.
Okay, so you cannot have a chapter going on for 14 years without bringing in new leaders. So think about how you can mentor and develop new leaders and put people in place where they can be seen and their skills can be nurtured, and think about what they're interested in and how they want to grow. So that is the role of an officer and a leader to develop new leaders. Next slide. All right, I'm gonna pass it to Barb.
Yes, thank you. So one of the things that we really have seen over the years for successful chapters is that one of our values is accountability. And so being really transparent about how decisions are being made is very important for kind of the health and well-being and ongoing strength of a chapter. And there are a number of different ways that a chapter can make a decision. Reason why we have this here is that it's important that people know that if they are attending chapter meetings, that they will get to have their perspective heard, ask questions, and then ultimately take part in the decision. So when we do in-person trainings, we actually talk about the different ways that a chapter can make decisions and sort of help the chapters decide and vote on which one is the most important or the way that they want to make decisions. And so we're just going to go over these real quickly so that everybody has a sense of what these different models are. So there is decision models that we've seen chapters take. There's consensus, which is that basically we do not make a decision until everyone who is present agrees that this is the right direction for our chapter to take. This is really good because it means that everyone is on board. People are more likely to implement a plan if they are agreeing to it. Some of the downsides are this can take a long time. It takes a lot of discussion. It could mean that you are not able to make a decision on a particular call. So it is a slower process. But that is the consensus model. There's modified consensus, which is that essentially we go ahead and have a conversation, bring up a point that we're talking about, ask people how they're feeling about it, if they're ready to vote. And as people say if they're in agreement or not, then to really be able to continue to discuss it and then say, okay, there's a certain point where we need to make a decision. So it could be that your chapter says, we are going to, if we're not able to reach a consensus at one meeting, we will go ahead and table it and discuss it in our next month's meeting. And then if we're still not able to reach a consensus, we're going to go ahead and vote. When you're doing a modified consensus, and even when you're doing a consensus model, one of the important factors is that you ask people what their concerns are, and that you revise what the proposed decision is based on what people's concerns are. So it could be that we're talking about, like, we want to go and have a PWN retreat in Hawaii. Okay, that sounds lovely. Most people would agree to it, but when we start talking about dollars and cents, we realize that we can't quite have a retreat in Hawaii. So instead, a revision might be, what if we instead just have a retreat in our home city, but can have everybody come together, and we're going to be able to manage that and have dinner and spend the night together, get up the next day, do something, and that'll build the community that we really want to do. That's the way that you can revise a decision to help build consensus. It is not building consensus if you basically just get really stuck in what you're talking about and you say, no, we're going to Hawaii, and that's the only option. And so really the discussion and saying, what is a concern you have? Why are you worried about this? Why are you not supporting this? So that you can go ahead and talk about it and decide. The modified consensus is that after many times of trying to revise what the proposal is, that you realize that you're still not 100%. And then the modified consensus is we have to make a decision, and so we're going to go ahead and vote on it. And Crystal has a great point in the chat. Have people heard about these before? Why don't we go ahead and use our, if you want to come off of mute, why don't you what decision-making model your chapter uses, if you don't mind. Anyone want to volunteer, or you can put it in the chat?
I'll jump on real quick. I think we do in Colorado, we do consensus, but here recently, I'm not sure what we're gonna do. We have some decisions that need to be made, and it's really hard to get people in on a meeting. And so I was gonna ask, is it possible to just we try to get a meeting together and people either can't or they don't respond to the email? What is another way that we can get out to them what our requests are? Like, say we want to nominate another co-chair. Can we do that just through an email? I mean, and say, hey, this is what we're gonna do. Can you let us know how you feel about it, or or maybe, yeah, because it's getting a little frustrating. But
yeah, no, I think that the question was about like rescheduling a meeting for a chapter meeting when we didn't have a lot of people on, and so yes, absolutely. It can be something that goes out by email and people vote. Or if people have concerns and want to talk it over, that they can call the co-chairs. Absolutely. Are there other chapters that are doing something other than the consensus model? Okay, Meta says when there's enough for a vote in Louisiana, we do majority rule. Okay, that's another option, and that actually is the next one that I was going to talk about. That's the most prevalent way decisions are made, which is that you discuss it, you make sure that nobody has any questions, and then you say, okay, are we ready to vote? And people vote, and people either vote yes or no. Majority decision is that 50% plus one means that decision is accepted. And so you can see that there are different ways. There's advantages, like that is a really clear way to get decisions made. It's much faster than trying to reach a consensus. It also means that sometimes perhaps there might be other considerations that you've not been able to take into account because you haven't really given people a chance to think about it, to ask more questions, to make recommendations of some other solutions. And so that is absolutely the way that the majority decisions often run. Are there other ways that chapters have made decisions? And I see we've got Katie and we've got Myra from Alabama. Do you mind if I invite you in to talk about how you make decisions in Alabama?
Yeah, I think we pretty much use consensus. We pretty much agree on things, but one time when we haven't been able to reach an agreement was around, I believe it's around abortion, and the one who disagreed and didn't want to participate. We just said you don't have to participate if you don't want to. But otherwise, I think we pretty much come to agreement on things. What would you say, Myra?
Yeah, pretty much we come to an agreement. We have pretty much made a vow to work as a team, since there's so few of us. And I think that there might have been maybe one time when we took like a vote and did a majority rule, but we're willing to do what it takes to keep the ball rolling.
Yeah. Yeah.
To keep moving,
so then, Yeah. That's a great combination. Then what you do is you give people a chance to really talk it out. Then, with the consensus, the modified consensus, taking a vote at the end does mean that you're able to keep things moving forward. Sometimes we get stuck when we're trying to reach consensus and nothing happens. We need our chapter to be able to move stuff forward, right? Because we got work to do.
Yes, we have work to do. That is so true.
We sure do. We sure do. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, thank you, Alabama. Is there any other chapter that wants to talk about how you make decisions? Deborah, do you mind talking about GHA? And you might not be somewhere where you can talk, but I just am sort of noticing all of our chapters on here and want to have people give people an opportunity to share.
Hello, this is Lizzie. Can y'all hear me pretty good?
Sure can. Hi.
Hi. We've been our chapter here in South Carolina. We have just been trying to go by the Robert's Rules of Order. But we're still in some decision making and trying to make our chapter better. But I'm just glad to have this webinar series going on so that we can all learn and be better at what we do.
Great. Thank you, Lizzie, and welcome. Glad you're here.
Well, since my behind is here from our chapter in PA, I will talk about what we be doing over here. When we be having meetings and everything, we would go ahead and we'll talk about certain stuff. And like also we would just go ahead and like vote on certain things. If we say yes, we all say yes. If we say no, we all say no. And like that's a decision that we do, but though like that's what we do over here in PA.
Hey, Gracie. So do you, I mean, when you say everyone says yes, is that you go for agreement? So everybody votes yes, or is it that you?
Yes. Yep. Yay or nay?
So what's the longest conversation you all have had to try and get everybody in agreement? Do you remember that?
Say it again.
I was just wondering what's the longest conversation you've needed to have for people to all agree on something?
Oh, the longest one that we had to go on was the one about the HB 103 over here. With it, and so like being said is like that is a real issue over here. So yeah, we literally said yay, and we literally just went on ahead and did it. And yes, ma'am, it has been vetoed.
Yeah. Thank you, Gracie. Thank you.
Hey, Barbara, it's me, Cookie.
Hey, Cookie.
Hey, what I could talk about my chapter here in Pennsylvania. Okay, we do communicate. Okay, hey, I can't complain no more about my other co-chairperson, my secretary, and my reach out. Okay, and I know one of the ladies there say about is Mary J. Hi, MG. I had the same problem here too. You know, sometimes we have problems that most of the people don't come in the meetings, okay? But like I put it like this, 2 person can make a meeting. No, don't feel bad, MG, because hey, 1 person or 2 people can make a meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a great point, Cookie. Thank you so much. All righty. So, you know, that is one of the things absolutely as we are thinking about how we make decision making and who is in which roles. It is super important that we again are clear and talk to folks and make sure that they know that we are all here to do this work and to do it together. So I think, Crystal, we got actually our slides kind of a little bit reversed. Do you want me to keep going about the effective chapter meetings, or do you want to take over this part?
Oh, I can do this. And I had something to share about decision making, because I heard South Carolina, they use Robert's rules, other chapters use other things, and I think that's fantastic. I think that's a good example of like everybody should do what works best for your chapter. So whatever decision making model works best for your chapter, do that. And I see someone raising their hand. I'm not sure who that is. It just says guest.
That's me. That's Lizzie. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's Liz.
Okay,
Lizzie.
Lizzie, go ahead. Go ahead.
I've been having so many technical issues. I had to sign in on my TV. So, but my thing is, like Ms. Myra was saying, you know, here in the South right now, it's just a limited amount of us. It's just like 5, you know. So sometimes we have an uneven agreement, you know, and one person might feel like, you know, well, they just decided against me because of so and so and so, you know. So, you know, it will help to have a regular order to go by, so that will help us to keep moving.
Yep. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that was something else I was going to share. One way that you can help your chapter like keep moving, be on the same page, even if y'all can't agree on everything, is having some set community agreements, some set group agreements, and you all as chapter members should come up with this together. You all as chapter members should come up and have a conversation about how will we make decisions. We have gone to different to see y'all in person and have chapter trainings. And at that time, we talk about group agreements. Okay, here's some examples of group agreements. Y'all can adopt these. You can add your own. But the group agreements are something we're going to talk about next week, because what y'all are also bringing up is like group dynamics and conflict. And what Lizzie was talking about is like a way they use their decision-making model in that way to try to help address the conflict. And so we're gonna talk about that more next month in the last part of this training series. But I think everything y'all are talking about is like letting me know that y'all are doing the work and you have so many experiences that y'all are pulling from. And these spaces are also spaces that we can learn from one another. So we're going to talk about that in a second. Right now, let's talk about how to hold an effective chapter meeting. Number one, your chapter meeting is a place to talk about like chapter business. What is going on? What do we need to make decisions about? What is the next thing we need to do as a chapter? Even if the next thing is self-care, that is chapter work as well. So you use your minutes as a way to help guide the conversation. And some people, one of the best ways is to look at the conversation you had at the last meeting, the next steps, and think about what is coming up that y'all need to talk about, or what decisions y'all need to make to help you plan your work for the future. That is a way to help create your agendas. And let me see by show of hand, like how many of you, show me, raise your hand if it is a struggle for you to create your chapter's agenda. Like you're not really sure what to put. You can do a thumbs up. Okay, I see some thumbs. I see one thumb. All right, thank you. I see two. I love that. Okay, yeah. So for your chapters, you all have your chapter work plan. Like I know I've worked with PA, Colorado, and Houston on their chapter work plans. I know Antoinette has worked with New York, South Carolina, Louisiana, Alabama even Dallas Fort Worth. At some point, we've worked with y'all on a chapter work plan. That should tell you what's going on from January to December. It should give you an idea. And then from that, you can see what's going to happen in the future. So, you know, okay, this is what we need to be talking about. Or we said we want to do self-care and a self-care activity in August. So what is our budget? How much money do we have? If you don't know, you can ask me or Antoinette, because we can help you figure that out. And then these are some of the ways and examples that you can think through developing your agenda for your chapter meeting. And y'all probably hear me keep going back to the self-care piece, because we really want y'all to take care of yourselves and your chapters while you're doing the work. Thinking through that agenda at least 1 week before the chapter meeting is going to give you time to really process, okay, what do we need to talk about? And then ask other people, and then share the agenda. And then keeping all your documents in your shared Google Drive. Your Google Drive is like, if you're in a physical office, y'all remember those back in the day when you used to go in work and you had the office room, the file cabinet room? If some of y'all still go into work and you have a file cabinet room, think of your Google Drive as your virtual file cabinet for the chapter. Think of it in that way. So if somebody puts a file in their personal desk drawer, the chapter can't find that. It's in your personal desk drawer. If you put it in the shared file cabinet room, then somebody can find it. Okay, I thought that was pretty clever. Okay.
Sometimes it's a headache.
It is. But guess what is even more of a headache, Cookie? When you file it in your personal desk. Hello.
Well, if you know where it is, you know, in your personal desk, you know where it is. You know what I mean? But like in that Google thing, it's a lot of things in that Google. You know what I mean? Okay. Like today, I have one of my co-chairperson, and I had my secretary here in my house today. Okay. And we were trying to find something. And I say, oh my God, I can't find this. I can't find this. You know what I mean? I said, well, listen, when I get to find it, I will send it to you. Because trust me, you're going to be getting a call from me tomorrow or not Tuesday, where you can help me to find it, Crystal.
Ooh, I love this. Okay, I see Antoinette's hand. Maybe you're going to say what I'm going to say, Antoinette. So you want to jump in right now?
Maybe, but but what I was going to say is like, that is like what Crystal pretty much said, like, that's why it's so important for you to put it in a drive and then have Crystal and I, like, call Crystal and I when you need support looking for it, because we, at least I know, like, and I know Crystal do this too, we periodically go into y'all's drive and we organize it in a way where it will be more functionable for anybody who needs to access it. We try to keep it as clean as possible. We try to put things in folders by years, depending on when things are made, so that y'all can be able to go in there and look for it. But it's also great when you are putting people in leadership positions. So if you are moving somebody into a secretary role, you want to be sure that your secretary can access your notes document. That's why I encourage, like, if you're going to take notes, yeah, sure, take it on your own, in your own way, but at least be able to put those notes in the running notes document so that anybody else can be able to look at it. Crystal and I can come in and look. If Crystal isn't available and I have to run a PA chapter meeting, which I wouldn't even know how unless I go to your notes document and find out what y'all were talking about.
I understand that, okay, but like today I was helping my secretary, okay, to get into stuff in that, okay, but I was trying to find a paper and it just gave me a big headache to find it. You know what I mean? And I told her when I get a chance, I will get it for her. That's why I say, Krista, you're going to be hearing a call from me later on or not. Tuesday, I will be calling you.
Yep. I see hands for Dawn and Gracie. And I really want to say this first. For folks needing tech training, our policy team is launching their new fellowship with policy advocates and things like that. And I do think they're having a tech training that it's not open to everybody, the tech
Nope.
training.
Nope, it's just for the advocates and the policy fellows.
Oh man. Okay, so we will have to come back and do a tech training for y'all. I hear that as an ask and a next step. Okay. Dawn, I see your hand.
I kind of think that's sort of kind of what my question was going to be. I know since I came, Elder and Antoinette have sent me some things, but I don't know if the things they sent me were part of a Google Drive, but again, I think it would be good to just have a training so that I'm up to date, and then the people that I'm bringing on, I'll be able to teach them, you know, what's going on, what I'm being taught. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Dawn. Gracie, I see your hand.
Well, basically, right, y'all have a whole different like system to where that I'm not used to. And so like you and Cookie was trying to help me, but shoot, Cookie literally had to like show me some of the things that needs to be going on and what have you. So yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And so I think this is a good, this is good, y'all. So this helps us understand like where support is needed. And what I'm hearing really clearly is like, again, the ask for tech support and training on like, how do I get to the Google Drive? Am I even in it? Because sometimes you have to be added. It's not just a public space. And so
That's what I done with her, Crystal. I added her in. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
I added her in and she got it now.
Exactly. Okay, good. And so keeping up with the ways you can hold effective chapter meetings. I think
Well, shoot, Crystal. Well, Crystal, just to just to let you know, you is a good teacher when it comes to like different stuff and everything. And like, girl, when you literally taught me how to copy and paste, I was so happy. I was like, oh my gosh, I did not know how to do that on that Chrome.
Y'all are brilliant people. We want you to like understand and receive and know that. Okay. So Gracie, the fact that you could pick it up just that quick, like take that into consideration when y'all are doing this chapter work. Y'all can do this. You can do it. And so we're just we're here to help support y'all be great. In chapter meetings, to be effective, it's really important to have a clear idea of like what y'all are there for. Y'all are there to discuss a certain topic, make a certain decision, or what have you, but be very clear about why everybody is coming together this month. And also pay attention to power dynamics. One way I have seen power dynamics be addressed, be better addressed, is to be very clear about, okay, we are here to discuss this topic. And so let's bring the group back to this topic, because it happens everywhere, no matter where you are. It happens in the chapters, in other spaces, it happens. I see it all the time. And when meetings are disorganized or not organized well, this is where power dynamics take over and it just becomes chaotic. And so when you're thinking about how you can hold an effective chapter meeting, keep that in mind. And also, at the very least, y'all, if you can treat each other with respect, I think we can get through a lot. And so welcoming in new folks, having a new member orientation, inviting chapter members to trainings like this all helps people, it all helps people get acclimated. It helps people to understand like what is happening. Next slide, because let's talk about this a little bit more. All right, so do y'all have any other thoughts or lessons you've learned that you want to share in like what holding a good chapter meeting looks like?
Can I say something?
Yep.
I make sure that I do call my co-chairperson. I call my secretary, okay, and I call my reach out, okay. And it's like it's trainings like this or meetings there, you know, that I want the PWN members to be involved with. I call them. I say, please, can you come and join in this? You know what I mean? Okay. That's the way I am, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I make sure that my members from PW in Pennsylvania, they be involved with it.
Yep.
Yes, and she's very a little pets about it, but I don't care.
Yeah. Thank you. Lizzie, I see you off mute.
I think holding a good meeting for me so far has been, you know, having all the members on right now. Like I said, we're a small group, but having everybody on and everybody participating, giving some type of input in what they want to see, how they want to see it, you know, unfold, and what goes into that, making a strong chapter is, I feel like it's just being a caring person, being truly involved in what you're working on for that minute or for that, you know, for that meeting period. Just being able to get feedback from the rest of the members, and everybody feels heard.
Yep. That's right, Lizzie. Absolutely right. Anybody else?
You have to be patient, understanding, and everybody has a word. And you have to be able to listen at what they're saying and not always focusing on your idea.
Yeah. I love this, Miss Sarah. I have never seen a quiet chapter meeting. Okay. That is a good thing. I have been in some meetings and people don't say nothing. And I'm like, now what is this? What is happening? And
I don't call that a meeting.
Huh?
I don't call that a meeting then.
Well, it is a challenging meeting to be silent.
Okay.
But I have not seen that with our chapters. So listening to one another, being patient. Miss Sarah, you hit it on the head. You have to be patient, allow people to process and try and think through things. And yeah, leading with love. I love all this stuff. Lisa, did you want to ask something?
Yes. Yes, this is Lisa from Alabama. So I don't know if I heard it or not because I was in and out, but I feel like having a meeting before the meeting with the executive committee is like one of the foremost things to do to head start to make sure you have a good meeting. As well as I feel that the secretary should talk with the co-chairs to make sure that everything needs to be addressed on the actual agenda is. I feel that the agenda should be sent out 2 days prior to the actual meeting. Therefore, all the members have a chance to look at it. And if there needs to be any addendums or anything else need to be added, you have that time to do so. I feel that we should not wait more than 5 minutes. Don't wait 20 minutes. Whoever's supposed to be there is going to be there. I know we have to have patience and lead with love, but we also have to have grace and understanding. And also be accountable to each other and to each other's time, because that's very important. And I think that's it.
Being accountable to one another.
Thank you for vouching.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes y'all, accountability does not need to look like, it doesn't need to be punitive. A lot of us know accountability to be harsh and critical. It does not have to look that way, especially
Grace.
for our
Yeah,
The
but
grace.
like it can look like
Yeah.
grace. Accountability can look like grace. It can look like asking people, okay, so what's going on? How can I help you? Like, and sincerely help them.
Yeah, like shoot, Cookie literally had me bring my behind, go over to her house, and was like, Gracie, come here and let me show you how to do this. Like, thank God, like Jesus Christ. I was like, okay, why was I wasn't added into it, but you helped me, and so did Cookie. And so now I know how to do that stuff. So I'm good now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Everybody's making such great points. Let me.
And can I make one more thing?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
Go, Lisa.
I was also saying, really take into consideration your roles and how you show up in your roles, because however the leadership is, that sets the tone and the vibe for the whole chapter. And if the leadership, the pipeline is dragging or slagging or downtrodden or whatever, like we need to be checking in on each other, because the momentum of the chapter depends on the leadership of that chapter.
Yep. I see Cookie, and then I want to invite folks who haven't shared in a while to share if they can. Then we'll wrap up.
I could put it like this. The young lady who was just speaking, you have a point, and if I have my other co-chairperson there, I have my secretary there, okay, and Crystal's here, okay, and they know that if I don't understand something, I'll be in that phone with them, text me, call me, or not be calling them, okay, because I always call my co-chairperson, I call my secretary, I call my, people from the meeting, join in the meeting, come and join in the meeting, okay? I'll check up on them, okay? And if I don't call them one day, they be calling me, okay? But I think I do always call them and find out and see how they're doing, okay? Because that's how you get people involved with you, okay? Communicate with them, talk to them. Like today, yesterday I had a long conversation with my other co-chairperson, okay? And we needed to get this together. We got it together, okay? I had my secretary come here today, okay? And hey, I had to do what I had to do, you know, man. I've been too long, been 14 years with PWN, okay? My second time being around co-chair, okay? And I think I need to step up and do my position being old co-chair person. You know what I mean? Okay, an old member from PWN. Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I gotta say, Crystal.
Thank you, Cookie. Mary, did you want to add something?
Yeah, this is like a really great discussion. For me personally, I'm like evolving into a lot of different types of leadership roles lately. So this isn't only helping me as far as PWN, but also just professionally as well. One of the things I was thinking of when everyone was talking is, you know, it's great to contact you, Crystal, and Barb and Antoinette and everyone to kind of get that USA support, the national support. But I'm also thinking, we can contact our other leaders in other chapters as well. You know, the ones that have been doing co-chair positions for a while, that know what it's like to be a co-chair, know what it's like to have leadership conflict within a chapter, so that we're utilizing not only you guys at National for support, but one another as well, because that's what we're here to do. You know, we're here to help one another. We're not all siloed. We're all here from all walks of life, you know, and someone that like Lisa could help Katie with something that maybe y'all might not know, you know, so reaching out to the resources that we have, that would be great. I'm from Colorado. Sorry, I saw something pop up saying, where are you from? I don't know if that was me or someone. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. I really appreciate this discussion, and it really was what it's bringing up for me is like, as National, like we are always thinking about how to support y'all better, how to make sure like experience and knowledge and wisdom and all the things are shared amongst the chapters, because I was on the phone just this week talking about, okay, you're talking about the exact same thing that's happening in another state. So this is not like you all are going through very similar things. And I'm thinking about is, what would it look like for us to continue these shared monthly spaces where not only chapter officers are invited, but maybe some of the chapter members who want to be in leadership roles and who want to take on more can have space to really talk with each other and learn. So that's what it's bringing up for me. I know we are almost at time, y'all, and I want to remind y'all in the next slide, I think we have a reminder about what's coming up. Next slide. Yep. So the next part, next month, we'll be talking about recruitment and retention. Last month, we talked about disclosure and how that plays into recruitment and retention for the chapter. So we're going to dive deeper into that next month. We're also going to talk about group dynamics. You all are already naming these things, and talk about, you know, working in organized formations. Our chapters are organized formations. And so what are the challenges and what are the opportunities of that? So I want to remind y'all to share this training with chapter members. Anybody is welcome to come, and we will be posting the recordings of the trainings on our YouTube channel. So you can just type in Positive Women's Network on YouTube and you'll find them. But thank y'all so much for sharing your time and your space with us today. I really appreciate learning from y'all